Christmas Eve. It's the one night of the year when we all act a little nicer. We smile a little easier. We share a little more. For a couple of hours out of the whole year, we are the people that we always hoped we would be. It's a miracle. It's really sort of a miracle.
Cast Iron Brains, a podcast that would like to remind you, all of you here at the end of 2024, this Christmas season, this time of ending and new beginnings, this chance that we all have to turn over a new leaf, sincerely and earnestly, it's never too late to change habits of mind, destructive habits of behavior. You always have that opportunity. Seriously, go watch the last 5 minutes of Scrooge. Watch Bill Murray crying, losing his mind about how this is the opportunity for you to turn things around. You can just be nice. You can just do good. You can just do it because it feels good and it makes other people feel good. Just do it. Yes, I'm talking to you, Matt Gaetz. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori is here, too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
None of that rhymed.
That wasn't a rhyming thing. Tonight is Monday, December 23rd, 2024. Christmas Eve, yet again. Abe, you have a good weekend?
Yeah, I was hanging out with one of my friends in Alpharetta over the weekend.
Oh, yeah?
And we went to, boy, people love Christmas. I don't know if anyone notices this, but
Christmas is great,
shit.
Abe.
So everything, like, I don't know what you know about Alpharetta, but it's like this.
A good bit. I went to high school there.
Oh,
I
well, there you
don't know
go.
much about Alpharetta. I don't care to.
They turned my part of Alpharetta into Johns Creek out of nowhere. I'm sure I've complained about this on the show before. They just invented Johns Creek for no reason. And so I went to high school in Alpharetta, but apparently I didn't. Apparently I went to high school in Johns Creek.
You're so old you predate Johns Creek? You predate a city. Look at you. So the main part of Alpharetta, they have a bunch of tree, or at least one big tree and a bunch of lighting. And we went to a couple of the bars.
Oh, a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Christmas tree with all the lights and whatnot. There are so many people dressed up as that Santa guy, like I mentioned last week.
Why are you traveling to the suburbs to go to the bars?
Atlanta is a shitty city.
In the suburbs, when your grown-ass friends could come to the city where all the bars, like you have whole areas of downtown midtown there.
I'll go where if people would prefer to meet up north. I'm more than happy to drive. I live here all the time, so most of the time they come to me. So we're there, and Grinch, the green guy, he's so popular that people are lined up to take pictures with him and obstructing my ability to use the bathroom like I didn't care for.
Is this a public Grinch figure? Like there's a come get your picture taken with the Grinch thing? Or is it just some weirdo who has a good Grinch costume who's getting people to take selfies with him?
This person had a great Grinch costume. I don't know if this was a part of some sort of planned event, but he was there and everybody took the opportunity to take pictures with him. Later on, like 30 minutes after I used the bathroom and I went upstairs, I could see outside down, and the Grinch guy took his mask off and he was like smoking a bunch of cigarettes back to back. It was just a very funny sight. Just like maybe he got more than he signed up for, like because he was getting hounded. They were doing group pics. It was just so many people on this guy. I didn't realize he was such a popular character.
I hope he had like a Venmo. What is the fucking square with all
like
the...
a QR code thing?
Yeah, a Venmo QR code like on his back or something so people could give him a good tip.
That would have been great,
For being such a sport.
Very popular. I mean, there was no Santa, so like everybody else was dressed like it. I think there was some sort of bar crawl, but it was a lot of people, and not young people, mind you. These were like our age and up people getting dolled up.
Old people.
Yes.
Not a lot of Utes going out to do the bar crawl in Alpharetta.
That's true. That is true.
Well, that's good. That sounds like a perfectly lovely time. When you go out there, do you stay out there? Do you get a car back into the city? How do you manage the fact that, or are you just driving fucking wasted
No,
back
so
into the city?
anytime I
doesn't
go
do
out to
that.
the sticks, I'm like on a beer. I like have like a beer or two and just kind of observe the people if I'm out and about.
Nice. How very mature of you.
Yes.
All right, let's open up the WGAS NewsBag. It's time for Who Gives a Shit News. First, Matt Gaetz desperately tried to get the House Ethics Committee report that was done on him from seeing the light of day. He filed an injunction, some sort of lawsuit, attempting to stop this from coming out, since there was a plan to have this come out earlier today on Monday. It's not clear to me that the House fucking cared, because they just... It was like, nah, we're just going to release it anyway. Like, yeah, I know there's, okay, pending lawsuit, whatever.
Yeah.
No judge issued a ruling on said lawsuit, and so the House just went ahead and put it out anyway. It's a secret vote of the 20 different House ethics members, 10 Republicans, 10 Democrats. Apparently 2 Republicans defected from the Republican core of things, and giving the Democrats the ability to put this report out, which I think was obviously the correct thing to do. You should not be permitted to simply resign a matter of hours before a House ethics report is supposed to come out, and preempt that from happening. I think that would be shitty.
Right.
If that were like, people keep talking about the precedent set of releasing an ethics report from the House Ethics Committee on a private citizen. How dare they break such an important precedent? It's like, no, the worst precedent is obviously allowing condemnable behavior by members of the House to go completely unofficially or officially unremarked upon, simply because the person's like, no, I'm just going to fuck off.
Right.
I'll just go away. It'll be fine.
Right.
Don't worry.
Right. And also,
Am I wrong here for having that position?
No, I mean, if you're going to go through the trouble of like looking into something and you have some information to share it. Like, I mean, what I don't understand what the obviously it's information that's damning to Gaetz, but the institution will survive this moment, right?
Some really juicy information is what
This
you're
guy,
referring
I mean,
to here.
although like. At least so far, I have not been surprised, but a lot of the stuff was kind of like known.
It's all things that we already knew were coming. It's just
Yeah.
fun to have it put out in the official language of a House Ethics Committee report, right? Like rather than being a gnarly headline on Drudge, instead it is in fact in the black and white of a House Ethics report, including substantial evidence that Gaetz had sex with a 17-year-old.
Right.
And paid her for the privilege on top of that.
Seems like that's his main thing, right? Paying for this.
Right. So not just having sex with someone who was underage, although it's she wasn't clear that, like, she didn't think that he had any reason to think necessarily that she was underage at the time. It was a don't ask, don't tell kind of situation.
Don't ask, don't tell, and tip.
Right, but also tip. But also, if there's any question, like, I mean, a moment of clarity here. If there's any question as to whether or not the hooker that you're paying for sex might be underage, go ahead and ask. Right? Like, go ahead and clear that little question up. Probably would be for the best, especially if you're a public figure. But further substantial evidence that he paid more than $90,000 to 12 different women between the years of 2017 and 2020 across your normal cash exchange apps like PayPal and Venmo and Cash App for the privilege of having sex with them. I know that he looks like Butthead. I know that he's not a traditionally attractive human being, but he's tall and ostensibly powerful as a big time dude in the House. Do some dudes, this is a larger question, do some dudes just like paying for strange rather than seeing what they could pull on their own?
Who was it? Was it the governor of New Jersey, Eliot Spitzer? Remember how he got into trouble with the prostitutes?
Was he governor of New Jersey? Wasn't he like the attorney general of New York or something?
Or maybe whatever, New Jersey, New York, one of those states. Yeah, let's go with New York. But he was the tough on, like, crime, like very tough, whatever. Like he had like a reputation, and he got caught up in something. But
he was a weird little dude. Like you look at Spitzer and you're like, yeah, I'll bet he does weird stuff on the internet to get his rocks off,
right?
And has to pay for it, like
right.
that. I believe Gaetz, like, you telling me that he couldn't like fucking figure it out?
There might be something. Okay, hold on. Okay, so if I'm a dude and I want to go have sex with someone, first of all, if I pay for it, it guarantees it.
Right.
I'm busy.
I think that's what it is.
So there's that.
Highly
also,
transactional.
If I pay for it, it's probably more likely they're not going to tell anyone because they're just fucking working.
Right.
But if I go to a bar and find some girl, she might be like, "Oh yeah, I won't tell anyone," and then she just will.
Right. And then on Instagram,
so
there's
obviously better to officialize that.
Yeah.
I bone butthead.
Asked and answered.
Gonna be out there telling people like, you think you would want to keep that?
Yeah. I don't know. People fucking hang around Mar-a-Lago and they brag about it. You know,
that's true. Yeah, but I mean, maybe the money is for particular services. I don't know, like if this report sussed out what, but
yeah, and it guarantees a product.
What are you saying here, Abe? There's some sort of Deshaun Watson like particular thing that he's after.
Maybe he's into like, I don't know, some sort of role kind of thing. I don't know.
I want Abe to just spitball on this for the next 30 minutes or so, and I'll come
new
back.
podcast.
Also, substantial evidence that Gaetz used copious amounts of illegal drugs. And, of course, this is something that he had apparently bragged about a great deal, including talking on the House floor about, like, what was he doing? He was mixing Red Bulls with Viagra and...
Not Red Bull.
I don't remember.
Isn't that bad for the heart?
Yeah, he's sort of like my brother's drink, the Champion, which is Red Bull and Coors Light. Matt Gaetz had a similar situation going on there, trying to take uppers and downers and dick pills all at the same time, probably right out of Christopher's playbook, actually, now that I think about it. Substantial evidence that Gaetz accepted luxury travel gifts in violation of House rules in connection to a trip to the Bahamas in 2018, that he tried to get an expedited passport for a sexual partner, someone that should not have had access to such things necessarily, because he not an actual constituent of his, apparently, so doing favors for sexual partners, and also substantial evidence of obstruction of the committee's investigation. So nothing that we hadn't heard before one way or another, but still, in my opinion, glad that it came out in the public in this fashion.
A tumultuous couple of months for him. Like, he was the nominee for Attorney General, was it? Like, just like a month or two ago?
Yeah.
And then he wasn't, and now this report, and basically, like, he's basically done for now. He's not going to make another run for anything.
I mean, no, probably not, but he'll land on his feet in conservative world, right? He'll have a podcast or an interview show or something. I mean, he's still technically, couldn't he still be sworn in on January 3rd? Like, he won re-election. Yeah,
I guess, is it binding when you say you're not going to, like, did he submit some paperwork?
I don't know if he ever submitted paperwork, but he could go show up on Inauguration Day for the new house, and presumably they'd have to let him in. That'd be a great deal of fun.
That would get a very strong reaction from the House, wouldn't it, even if it is a Republican-led? Like, come on. You got to get the fuck out of here.
I mean, they might
George
fucking
Santos
need him.
Guy.
That's the thing. Like, what is the margin now? 3?
Yeah. I mean, they got that old lady who doesn't know where she's at from Texas.
Well, yeah, but her replacement will at least be sworn in on the 3rd.
Be sworn in,
whatever the date is of the new Congress. But
yeah,
it's not like Gaetz's replacement is going to be sworn in on day 1, because
that is true. Yeah, the margins. I think I read somewhere, at least for the first couple of months, it's going to be very tight.
No. Moving on, Biden commutes the sentences of 37 out of 40 of the current federal death row inmates.
37?
37. Try not to commute any more sentences on your way through the parking lot, old man.
One of the 3 is the Boston Marathon guy, and the other one is the kid that shot up the church, was it?
Yeah, the South Carolina church shooter who wanted to spark a race war.
Right.
This Tsarnaev kid from the Boston Marathon shooting or bombing. And then the guy who shot up the synagogue in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Those are the three that remain on death row. The other 37 will have their death sentences commuted to life in prison without possibility of parole.
Right. So they're not getting out
It's
of
not
jail.
that much better.
But it's weird. You know, I'm pretty sure the resumes for the others is not too great. I mean, they're on death row, right? So, like, I don't know if they offered the justification. I don't know if the White House said, like, because of the extra heinous level of whatever, those three are fucked.
It was for hate crimes or terroristic acts was the justification for why those three remain.
So the argument is that this is a deeply held conviction that, like, death penalty is wrong, except when you do things I don't like. Because, I mean, like, the other things are probably things that people don't like.
Yeah, except then.
It is in your nature, and correctly so, to immediately go to the hypocrisy.
It is. I mean, where are you drawing the line?
I'm not trying to give you shit. I agree. It is a little bit hypocritical and shameful that it wasn't all 40 of them.
It's either 40 or none.
If this was a principled stand. Right. However, I cannot be too mad about the fact that Biden has done this, and I, in the past, maybe I would have complained about the imperial presidency. I would have complained about this amount of executive autonomy to make these sorts of decisions. The federal government hasn't executed anybody in a long time. Biden had put the kibosh on that. Trump had tried to get things moving on that process, I believe, but like the rate of federal execution in the course of the last generation has been markedly low. Not a lot was happening, and given that Trump has talked about expediting these things, and given that Biden had paused all federal executions during his time in office, he had gone out of his way to say we're not going to do this. At least while I'm around, he has now gone so far as to say all, like, 37 out of 40 of these people simply cannot be executed. It's not like Trump can come back in and sign an executive order that's like, no, all these fuckers are going back on death row. Joe Biden's commutations be damned. No, this is an immutable power of the president to make this sort of a decision that you can't go back on. And the power of the federal government or any other government, state, local, otherwise, to do murder, to do killing, is as I've said before on the Morning Press and elsewhere, is uncontroversial, a moral wrong as I can think of. Like, it is simply wrong that the state should do killing. It is as the representative of the will of the people, it implicates all of us in a way that makes me deeply uncomfortable, and I think is an obvious moral wrong. And Biden commuting these sentences, I think, is an unalloyed good. I don't have anything negative to say about it. Do I wish that he had done all 40? Yes, because I don't think that Tsarnaev or Dylan Roof or the guy who shot up the synagogue in Pennsylvania should be killed by the government either. But 37 out of 40 ain't bad, and I'm not sure that Trump is going to be able to get the other three executed in the next 4 years. Anyway, so
yeah, what I don't like about any of this is that, like, Biden, I don't know, maybe this has happened before, but I've just haven't noticed it to this degree. Like, he's going above and beyond to, like, foreclose opportunities for Trump in many different avenues. Like I'm going to prevent you from going after my kid, he's pardoned, or killing these people, they're commuted. I'm going to send extra weapons here and there because you're going to, like there's all of these steps that he's taking to just undermine the incoming administration. And I wonder if there's some sort of negative impact that will have down the road. Like, will the next guy
on the death penalty stuff? I don't think so. I think on almost all of the other stuff, yes.
I mean, this is a stupid thing to bring up, but what if it was the other way around? What if Trump was on the way out? He didn't lose in 2020, and he was just about to finish his second term, and he knows that the incoming, like it's a Democrat, let's say, the incoming candidate, they were talking up about their distaste for capital punishment at the federal level, and they're going to commute on day one, commute all these people. And Trump's like, fuck that. We're killing all 40 tomorrow. Like, would there be like a legal mechanism to like expedite before you're about to leave, like as a lame duck president?
It's not clear to me that exists in the Constitution.
No, I mean, they have plenty of time. I mean, this murder happened 20 years ago. I'm just
We'll
killing
figure that out later.
And then pardon yourself.
That's right. Of course, and then pardon yourself.
Just like, all right.
You do what was the episode of Breaking Bad with all the shankings going down at once?
That's right.
Can you do that on January 19th?
Yes.
Approaching midnight, you just have all of the death row inmates shanked all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope not, certainly.
Yeah.
Although, if Trump had thought about it, he certainly would have campaigned on day one executions for all federal death row inmates, right? It just hadn't occurred to him, in all likelihood. Never mind the fact that, like, he did campaign on wanting to expand the death penalty,
right.
and to make it easier for people to be put to death by the government. And I don't like that. I wish that we wouldn't do that. Anyway, next thing in the WGAS NewsBag, Lara Trump says that she has removed herself from consideration for Marco Rubio's Florida Senate seat. Good news, Abe. This won't be a prediction of yours that you get wrong, because you won't have the opportunity to make it. Because you were pretty sure just a couple of weeks ago that this Florida Senate seat, which once belonged to Marco Rubio, would be given by Governor Ron DeSantis to Trump daughter-in-law Lara.
All right, I'm going to still make that prediction. She's going to, at some point early in 2026, say, I just don't like the direction, blah, blah, blah. I'm compelled. I want it to be private citizen, so-and-so, but for the country, I'm coming back, and she'll make a big go at it. So I'm going to be wrong anyways, despite your attempts to prevent me.
That is your way. She tweeted, after an incredible amount of thought, contemplation, and encouragement from so many, I have decided to remove my name from consideration for the United States Senate. I like multiple things about that. First of all, the fucking audacity of Lara Trump insisting that she was actually under serious consideration for the United States Senate, which I know her father-in-law tweeted that it would be really cool if DeSantis made her the next senator from Florida. But I choose to live in a world where Lara Trump was never under serious consideration to be in the United States Senate, and therefore her tweeting that is hilarious self-own. But also an incredible amount of thought.
Incredible. Yes. The amount of thought.
Is this in between the bad country music videos that she was making?
She didn't know how much thought could be put into something.
She
so
has
much
literally
thought that it is unbelievable.
Never seen Eric Trump think as much as she thought in the last 6 weeks about this potential opening in the U.S. Senate seat. No news on who will ultimately end up in that spot. Abe, we touched on briefly, you mentioned the Texas congresswoman who's disappeared since the summer. I'll make sure there's a link to this story in the show note. This is Representative Kay Granger. The Dallas Express did some man-on-the-street journalism where they sent a young man out to just go find out what the fuck happened to Kay Granger, who was 81 years old and over the summer announced, or actually I think in the spring announced that she wouldn't be seeking re-election, and then over the summer was the last time anybody saw her in public. And the Dallas Express sent an intrepid young man reporter with a camera to her office down there in Texas, and it had been obviously closed down, like all the stuff was out of it and then boarded up and nobody was there. And then they got a tip that Ms. Granger was in an assisted living facility. And they went to that assisted living facility and had the following interaction with an employee there.
And we're here wanting to do an interview with Congresswoman Kay Granger. She's currently the sitting incumbent for District 12, and right now there's a vote that's happening in D.C., and we're just wondering if we can get an interview with her.
Kay who?
Kay Granger, Congresswoman Kay Granger.
You know you're in an Alzheimer's and assisted living building?
Yes, but she's the sitting incumbent. And
Her office is empty. We went by there first.
Yes.
I don't even know who that is. Are you sure you're at the right building?
This is the right building.
What? I don't understand what's happening.
All right, to be clear, a journalist and his cameraman, by the way, vertical video, for fuck's sake. And I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but the woman behind the desk there is not physically equipped to be filmed in vertical video. This is a very horizontal human being.
It's not necessary, but
But the point stands, Abe. He's trying to get both the interview and the interviewer and the interviewee in frame at the same time. And I'm sorry, we're in the heartland of America. We're in fucking Texas. This is a large boned people.
They say it's bigger there. They say
everything's bigger in
there.
Texas, including the women behind the front desk at the Alzheimer's assisted living facilities. And you need to be shooting in landscape mode, you fucking idiot. You're a journalist, allegedly, for fuck's sake. Lori, to be clear, what's happening here is that the intrepid reporters at the Dallas Express...
Why do you keep saying that?
It's important. Didn't understand why Congresswoman Kay Granger, the Texas Congressional District 12 representative, was not in Washington to debate the important extension of the debt ceiling and keeping the government open so that Abe could work for the rest of the year. Well, she announced that she was going to not seek re-election. She did not resign. So she was not officially replaced, or she did not give Texas the opportunity to be fully represented in the House of Representatives. And the Dallas Express was seeking to get a clear understanding of why her constituents were being so viciously ignored at the national stage.
There's an update here at the top. Apparently, the kid came out to basically say what everyone knows is the case, that his mom is having some dementia issues. But it's just weird that the office did not come out and say this over the past few months.
Her son, update to the story, Brandon Granger, son of Kay Granger.
Oh, not this guy's mom.
No.
The
Got
reporter's mom.
Although, would you be, based on the video and the reporting, would you be surprised if, like, the reporter's mom piped up? Like, I wouldn't.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Very amateur operation they're running
happening.
there.
By the way,
Dallas Express.
I'm not very familiar with Dallas Express, but this must be like their big get. All of these watermarks for half of the videos are like nothing except the one that you just played, but they're just like, make sure that you credit us. Like, this is our shit.
So then in the video, the woman says, you're at an Alzheimer's facility.
Yeah, the reporter shows up and he's like, I want to have an interview with Kay Granger. We got a tip that Kay Granger, Congresswoman, is here. We want to talk to her about why she's not fucking voting like she's supposed to be. And the woman behind the desk goes, you are aware that this is an Alzheimer's care facility, correct? And he says, yeah, well, we got some questions for her.
Is he broken or is he kidding?
He's dead serious.
He thinks he's going to get a spot at 60 Minutes with this hard-hitting coverage.
Can we... are you going to let us talk to the demented bitch or what? Like, what are you doing, lady? Why are you standing in the way of the people? By the way, this is why people hate the media.
I know.
To be clear, this is fucking inhuman. And the guy has no idea that he's being quite inhuman.
Yeah.
He's not listening. If he listened, just listen.
And also, like, not to be fair everything, but, like, to be fair, she should have resigned.
Yes.
Back in the spring.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is she doing?
And does this constitute fraud? Because she's still getting paid, and I'm sure she had still a staff technically that's not doing anything, right?
Right.
And they didn't say anything for like 6 months.
There's a line in the story somewhere, I don't have it pulled up anymore, that says that she continues to draw a salary and benefits as though she were still working. And it's like, well, maybe she fucking needs them, because maybe that sweet government health plan is covering her extended stay at the Alzheimer's care facility.
That's right.
Speaking of, the reason that the Dallas Express was so keen on getting answers from demented Congresswoman Kay Granger, or slightly demented, sorry, I don't want to speak out of turn here, is that there was a chance that Abe wasn't going to have to work for the rest of the year because there could have been a government shutdown. Donald Trump wanted the debt limit erased for the totality of his presidency. He wanted under Joe Biden, the Republican Congress to go ahead and say, yeah, the debt limit isn't a thing until January of 2029, which is bold, obviously, for the president. And then he was like, okay, if you can't give me the next fucking 4 years, can you at least give me the next year? Like, can we at least put it off a year, kick the can down the road for another year? And then he seemed to want multiple things, which is his way of really fucking up this process and every other process, which is to want competing things to happen, right? Which is to, on the one hand, say we need to not shut down the government for a long time so that I don't have to worry about it. But also, if you don't shut down the government, you will be doing the bad thing, which is spending too much money, right? And of course, these are competing ideals in MAGA world. And then Elon Musk starts tweeting about how this particular deal is the worst fucking deal in the world, and it goes down in flames. I've seen Elon Musk now referred to as the first buddy and the first pal in the last couple of weeks, both of which I like. I'm not sure which.
How is it not first dude, bro?
Because he's not a dude, bro. He's a lot of things. He's mostly a fucking dork, is what Elon is, and so he's not really a dude, bro. A lot of his pals are dude bros. Like a lot of the people who like him are dudes, but he's not. He's a fucking dork.
First dork is taken.
First dork is not. Like, that's clearly derogatory.
Yeah.
But first buddy is just sort of condescending. And I prefer that. A couple things here. One, ultimately, the House and then subsequently, at the very last moment, the Senate passed government funding, so Abe gets to continue working. And they kicked the can down the road on basically everything else. I think that they said they funded the government at current levels without throwing in any extras, which was what initially Johnson had done. He'd been forced to reach out to House Democrats and put a bunch of policy riders on this bill and fund a bunch of stuff that upset Republicans in order to get the government funded, which is how what's his name? Kevin McCarthy got fucked in the first place, which is what got Mike Johnson this job last year.
You know, I know that Trump was doing the debt ceiling punt for selfish reasons, but they probably should just get rid of that, right? I mean, whatever the intended purpose behind the debt ceiling, which was to kind of keep the debt manageable, it has failed. Like every time they
but optically, you can't just why would the Democrats be so generous as to say, yeah, you know what? Let's not. I mean, as much as I agree, they should get rid of the notion of the debt ceiling because it's entirely nonsense, right? We have to pay our fucking bills, and that's all it is.
Right. It has failed to achieve what it was intended to do, and the buy-in is just get rid of it entirely, not through Trump's term. Let's just be done with it. If you have enough votes to pass something that's going to raise the debt, then you approved of this raising of the debt. Like, what are we doing? You know how the math works. So, if the bills that they're voting on, and the CBO will come up with a number, and they'll tell you how much it's going to increase the deficit by. So it's or the debt. Why not just get rid of it entirely? Not for 4 years, but for forever.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It should be done away with. But again, that would go against. I'm not sure that you could get Republicans entirely on board with that because, again, optically and politically, it's not what they're aiming for. They like it. They like the brinksmanship of it. They don't have a particular problem with shutting down the government from time to time. Nobody actually pays a political price for this, not since Ted Cruz did it in the Obamacare fights. None of it fucking matters.
Right. I mean, there aren't really any fiscal overtly conservative anything anymore. So it's like, I mean, maybe like a couple of them.
I mean, there's a handful of them,
Yeah,
and they get confused when things like this happen, right? Like, and they're like, "Well, I thought we weren't doing this with Trump. Like, didn't we just spend the last year talking about how we weren't doing exactly this with Trump?" And like, to me, it's almost endearing, like when they're like the naivete on display. Does Johnson? And I know we're getting to the very end here. My prediction at the start of the year was that Johnson, either through attrition or through Republican infighting, would no longer be the House Speaker by the end of the year. It looks like he's going to hang on. I don't see how he hangs on much longer through the year. So far, it doesn't look like he has Trump's unwavering support.
Right.
And it wouldn't surprise me at all that they just have a series of stupid fights. There was I don't know who floated it, but Elon for House Speaker was floated because at some point the first buddy relationship is going to come asunder, right? Like Trump always has some hangers on who get too big for their britches, and then he has to fucking get rid of them.
Right.
Would making Elon Speaker of the House on top of his other duties solve that first buddy problem, or would it only exacerbate it?
I mean, the idea is so preposterous. I don't imagine it even being considered seriously. I know it was floated around.
What actual Republican wants this job? Mike Johnson
That's
doesn't
true.
want this
and I
fucking
think,
job.
So to your point about the Speaker, he should be. I mean, he's in a very fragile spot. The first tiff he has with Trump, you know, at the beginning, like maybe like in March or April, something goes sideways, and he'll do some sort of temper tantrum online and say like, you know, fuck this guy. If they get rid of Johnson, you're gonna have a repeat of what happened after McCarthy, right? Because you won't be able to find enough votes to galvanize around one alternate Republican. So maybe it's like it's the job no other Republican can get. And so like before you get rid of this guy, think about that. But they're not going to bring in Elon Musk. And to the point of Elon, at some point, like you say, the memes and the coverage will be like he's really running things. Like Trump is about to push 80 in a year or so. It's really this guy. This Elon's doing all the work and da-da-da-da. He just listened to what he's saying. Like he's going to hear that enough to where he'll distance himself from him. So I don't see that happening as far as the speakership.
Steve Bannon is the obvious comparison here, which was he was a guy who had Trump's ear, who was in the inner circle, who sort of otherwise had no political power whatsoever, besides running Breitbart for a couple of years.
Right.
And who then gets on the cover of Time magazine, and the cover says "The Great Manipulator," and it's a very serious-looking Steve Bannon. And it says, the lead is Steve Bannon the second most powerful man in the world? Most modern presidents chart their opening moves with the help of a friendly think tank or a set of long-held beliefs. Donald Trump's first steps had the feel of a documentary film made by his chief strategist and alter ego, Stephen K. Bannon. That was the end of Steve Bannon's meaningful influence in the Trump White House, because Trump cannot abide that level of other people believing that somebody else has the whip hand in the inner circle besides Trump himself. I think that they're going to probably overplay their hand in the media in terms of trying to make the first buddy a thing, right? To make it seem like Elon is the one who's in charge here. But eventually it's going to rub him the wrong way. He will not endure any of it firsthand, but he will see it on Fox and Friends when the people on Fox and Friends are like, no, of course Elon is not actually in charge here. Don't be ridiculous. And the more of that sort of defense he has to hear, the more it gets incepted into Trump's head that actually everybody out there really does believe that Elon's in charge, and it's time for Elon to go. Also, it is profoundly unseemly and inappropriate and anti-American that Elon Musk has any role whatsoever in the executive branch or in the United States government. Nobody voted for this guy. Right. This is way worse than people getting mad at Michelle Obama for introducing "Let's Not Have So Many Fat Kids" initiative. This is way worse than Bill Clinton giving Hillary the power or the authority to negotiate the healthcare stuff in his.
No, those were women, so
terms.
It's worse.
But it's the same instinct in the American people to be highly suspicious of unelected people given great deal of unaccountable power. Right? We don't like it. We don't like it when it's the first lady getting out over her skis, and we're not going to like it when it's Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy getting out over their skis and being given authority that they rightfully didn't earn.
Right. But presidents are often given free rein to decide who their inner circle is, and
an inner circle is one thing. Right. When the perception is that somebody in that inner circle is actually driving the bus, that's when we get upset.
Right.
And like, yeah.
How come Vivek is getting short shrift? I thought it was a two-man operation, a Doge. Like it's
one of them owns and runs Twitter, and and gets to direct the conversation because of that fact. The other one does not.
Okay, well there you go.
Or maybe it's racism. Maybe it sounds like you're suggesting it might be racism.
I wonder if Vivek is just waiting for Elon to eventually trip and fall. Because, I'm sure Trump probably thinks, like, this guy is such a stiff. Like, he's such an awkward guy. Like, Trump, like, he traffics in just, like, his way of talking to people, schmoozing others and whatnot. And Elon can't do that in a room, right? Just from what I'm seeing from afar. Elon does not seem to be a glad-handing, talk about, like, the sporting event over the weekend. Like
Elon is really fucking weird.
Yeah,
is what you're getting at.
So
yeah.
I'm sure Trump is like, I'm not worried about this guy. He's got a lot of money, but like I know a lot of guys with a lot of money. He's not like he's not after my spot.
Yeah. All right. Finally, last thing in the WGAS NewsBag, an update to a story that Cast Iron Brains brought to you last week, along with literally every other media outlet in the world. Which is the drone sightings happening in and around the northeastern United States and in states all across our great country, including apparently in Maryland. This is former Governor Larry Hogan. At least I believe he's former Governor Larry Hogan.
Is his term about to end? I don't know, because he just lost the Senate seat in November, so I don't know if it overlaps anything or if actually no, he's done, right? Because Wes Moore is the governor.
Yeah, he's been done, I think, for 2 years almost.
Yeah.
His Twitter bio or Twitter handle still has Governor Larry Hogan there, like a.
But once a governor, always a governor, right? Is that
all right, but don't put it on your fucking handle, man. It's like Dr. Jill Biden. If I'm going to be upset, and I am, about everybody insisting that I call Dr. Jill Biden, I'm also going to be upset about Governor Larry Hogan insisting that I still call him Governor Larry Hogan. Fuck off, guy. He tweeted the following. Last night, beginning at around 9:45 p.m., I personally witnessed and videoed what appeared to be dozens of large drones in the sky above my residence in Davidsonville, Maryland, 25 miles from our nation's capital. I observed the activity for approximately 45 minutes. The tweet goes on for some time because Governor Larry Hogan has a blue check and therefore is not limited, like the rest of us commoners, to a mere 280 characters. He also posts a 2-minute video, which he believes represents a lot of unaccountable and unexplainable drone activity happening in the area of his house. There's a note that's been attached by users of the Twitter app, the X platform. It's called Community Notes, where they allow people to vote on helpful revisions to claims made in tweets. And it says flatly, the stars at the 39-second mark are recognizably the constellation Orion. From this, you can determine that the bright lights behind the trees are the stars Sirius and Procyon. I don't know how to pronounce that. And it concludes, no anomalous objects are apparent in this video. And just to drive the point home, if you watch the video, it's not a great video. He's just taking video of a dark sky through a bunch of trees, beyond which are stars. And if you move the video around through trees, it looks like things are moving or appearing and reappearing or otherwise sort of fluttering when they shouldn't be. But it's just the night sky. And if anything, Larry Hogan's video here reinforces to me that what we have is a bunch of people who are going outside and looking up for the first time in like 20 fucking years. Like they've just awoken to the idea that, oh shit, I've been looking at my phone forever. There's a whole fucking sky out there. Well, I wonder what the fuck's going on up there. And they're like, oh, look at those lights. What are those lights? And like fucking pre-Galilean morons, they start assigning supernatural ideas to simply natural phenomenon. And believing that things are going on that clearly are simply what happens every fucking night when you go outside and look around.
What's weird is that, he lives there, so the night sky should be comparable. Like, I remember, I living in the city with this light pollution. Every time I go somewhere where there isn't, and you look up and you're like, holy fucking shit, there's so many stars up there. And I never thought they were drones, but like, it's weird that he's a governor, or a former governor. He can't seem to figure that out. Like, or he's just...
It's fucking humiliating.
Right.
It is absolutely embarrassing that serious people are going around showing poorly composed videos of the night sky and insisting that what the hell is going on here? We need to get to the bottom of this.
Right.
And it's just the second most recognizable constellation in the night sky that he's talking about.
And his posture is basically that, like, we demand answers and somebody's hiding from, like, what? Like, what are you talking about, guy? Like,
I think it's the most recognizable.
No. Orion?
I think so.
No, Big Dipper.
I can never find the Big Dipper. I see Orion all the time.
All right. I don't know. Maybe this is a pop culture question. What are people more familiar with, the Big Dipper or Orion?
Familiar with is different. Like, when I look at the sky in the winter, I see Orion. It's obvious. Maybe the Big Dipper is a summer thing?
I don't know.
And it's just hazier then?
I can report from Atlanta during my walks over the last week or so. A lot of planes over the Atlanta sky. I mean, I'm about 20 miles from...
Wait. The busiest
Yes.
airport
20
in
miles,
the country, I
yeah.
believe.
In Atlanta.
20 miles from the busiest airport. And all I'm seeing is so much traffic in the air. I'm not reporting
I'm going to
anything.
need you to take some video.
I will.
of this.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you sure they're planes?
They appear to be planes, but I can never be sure.
They appear to be planes. That sounds more correct.
All right. That's the WGAS NewsBag, zipping up the Who Gives a Shit news for the week. Very, very quickly here. This will just take a moment. I was reading in Slate.
Whoa, don't do that.
It's very fast. An article about somebody who didn't like a very popular book. This is one of my favorite things to read, is when someone doesn't like a very popular thing, because that's right up my alley. I love hating very popular things. And so I'm reading this article about Kristen Hanna's The Women, which has sold so many copies that even Lori has heard tell of it down there at the salon.
My clients say, do you read? And my clients say,
can
have
you read?
My clients say, have you read? And I say, nope.
No.
Because nope.
The Women, though, is a very popular book. Came out this year that sold millions of copies. It's the biggest new novel of the year. The headline is, "It's almost unreadably bad." And that's perfectly enjoyable. She goes through all of the reasons why it is bad. And what struck me as I was reading through this article, which is mostly just an excuse to vent hatred for the work, which, believe me, when I read something that I truly hate, I'm thinking of like Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, I think was the guy's name, which was a wildly successful novel 10 or 15 years ago now, that I just fucking despised. I wanted to tell everyone about it. Like, it was very important to me that if you read this and liked it, there was something fucking wrong with you, and you needed to be told that you were wrong to like this. Not because, like, I understand, like, enjoying the plot of something, but, like, look at this sentence, and then literally the very next sentence, and then the next actual sentence after that. All three of those sentences were bad, on and on for fucking 400 pages. Like, surely you didn't actually enjoy this. Anyway, so I understand that instinct. she points out a lot of what's wrong with this book. And in summation of the plot, the writer seems to have wanted to make this story more about change in American society than about Vietnam per se, and has assigned Frankie, the main character, avatar status. Here is a child of privilege who has a window into what the war is doing to American soldiers and Vietnamese civilians, yet who always has a wealthy family to fall back on. She says of the men who die under her care, quote, "The majority were black or Hispanic or poor, straight out of high school. They didn't have parents who could pull strings to get them out of service," end quote. I tripped over that line while I was reading, probably because I'm racist, like deep in my bones.
The or there is
Right.
doing a lot of work.
The or poor is doing such an extraordinary amount of work. And I was curious, how much work is the or poor doing? Because the insistence of the author that goes unremarked upon by this person who hated this book is that the majority of the people who died under the care of this nurse in Vietnam were black or Hispanic or poor, straight out of high school. They didn't have parents who could pull strings to get them out of service. That line doesn't come under fire from the person who hated this book. And my suspicion is because the person who hated this book shares a similar fundamental underlying belief that the majority of the people who died in Vietnam were black or Hispanic or poor. Like, it's a completely unthinking, why would I trip on that sort of thing, right? But because I am obviously at my core racist, I tripped over that. And so I Googled the demographics of the people who died in the Vietnam War. The not the Vietnamese, but the Americans.
Right.
The demographic.
Well, that's what you mentioned. I said, because what did you say? They were overwhelmingly white, and I said, what about the Vietnamese?
Right, well, unless you count the VC, obviously, that's a different question. Right. But and unsurprisingly, what I discovered when simply Googling racial demographics of United States casualties, deaths in the Vietnam War, is that much in keeping with the population of the United States at the time, 86+% of the people who died in Vietnam who were United States soldiers were white. Right. 86% were white, 12% were black, and fewer than 1% were Hispanic. Right? 1.1% were other races, and I think 0.5% of the total was Hispanic. So the sentence is the majority were black or Hispanic or poor straight out of high school. What is doing all of the lifting in that majority statement must be poor. If there's any truth value to the statement whatsoever, it has to be entirely on the question of the poor, because you can't even say that a disproportionate number of the deaths in Vietnam, demographically speaking, were black or Hispanic, relative to their representation in the population of the United States at the time, right? Yeah. It's a patent absurdity, and it's like, why do we insist? Like, it's like this person believes that she is a good moral person as long as she says that sentence, right? Like, it doesn't matter. The truth of the situation is completely beside the point relative to being able to make, to gesture in the direction of modern racial equity, right?
And you know, the way that you read it, like the way the sentence is structured, you would think this is not a reach. You would think black, Hispanic, that constitutes a majority, and then like you have, you go from there, the poor straight out of high school.
Because in your head, because you're a racist, poor is just a modifier for black or Hispanic. Right. It doesn't include white. Right. So and that's the other sneaky racism that's going on here, is that it's relying on you to not say, oh, she means all whites. When she says poor, it's relying on you to make poor synonymous with black and Hispanic, which is something else that the modern equity racial movement does, right? Like, it's all part of the same thing. And so, yeah, you're right. Reading that sentence, it is just begging for you to say the majority of people who died, of U.S. soldiers who died in Vietnam, were black or Mexican, which is a patent absurdity. Right. It's completely ahistorical. It is not at all in keeping with reality, but it doesn't even get mentioned. It doesn't even trip up the person who fucking hated this book.
Right. Now, this book
or
is
it was an editor that made her not. Who knows?
Yeah. This is, by the way, like a historical fiction. What is this genre?
Yes, it's historical fiction. Okay. It's about 3 women nurses who went to Vietnam, one of whom was from a wealthy family, one of whom was working class black, and one of whom was working class white from the South. And then follows those women after they come back to the States.
What are the guardrails when it comes to historical fiction? Can you just make things up, or like elevate some people in a distortion, like just? In
my opinion, sure, do whatever the fuck you want. Right. But like this is obviously, like, to me, it just screeches as a political project to not even notice what's happening there in that sentence. Whatever. Again, not at all a big deal.
That is interesting. So this is like a target-rich environment for criticism, and the thing that's like staring right at her, she missed, because in your estimation, like, she aligns with that kind of thinking, and so it didn't read to her as off. Like, she was just focused on all the other things. Okay.
Right. And it's funny to me that, like, she quotes, I think, one line in the entire fucking book, and it's one that is like just begging to write an entire other essay about, rather than the one that she wrote.
We're gonna roll some dice.
All right. It is not yet time to roll the dice. It is, in fact, time to play America's favorite game show, in which we ask the burning question: did CBS News' senior national news correspondent, Mark Strassmann, get off a good one?
Our Eye on America tonight focuses on something felt by many, but discussed by few: loneliness. While 1 in 2 adults say they're lonely, men often have a tougher time dealing with what the Surgeon General now calls a national epidemic. Here's CBS's Mark Strassmann.
She said that was dumb.
God gave us a whole lot more testosterone than the other half of the world. We should enjoy it.
This is Everyman, a guys-only weekend getaway in the Berkshires of Massachusetts.
How you doing? Good to see you.
No drinking, no drugs, no phones. Roughly 50 men placing a premium on authenticity, opening up about struggles men often bury, like loneliness.
We can just be raw and real with each other.
We met Brad from Idaho. John's from Connecticut. Dan lives in Maine.
Have any of you struggled with loneliness? Yeah, I would say I'm struggling with it right now. And what does that loneliness feel like to you? Maybe fragility or insecurity. Does it hit you a lot? It's low-level consistent.
Loneliness is a poverty of the spirit.
What about you? Loneliness an issue?
I don't resonate with loneliness as much as I do my need for belonging.
Absolutely, I have experienced loneliness in the past.
If you weren't working at it, would loneliness come back to bite you?
I would be back where I was 2 years ago, which is when I'm home, I'm not present.
But it's not just regular guys exploring isolation. From Lenny Kravitz to Joe Rogan to Dwayne Johnson.
I know what it's like to be depressed, loneliness, multitude of things.
Even the most macho celebrities now talk about the richness of vulnerability.
As men, we've traditionally been put in a box and given a very small range to express our emotions.
Everyman co-founder Lucas Crump.
There are a lot of men that are walking around not necessarily overtly a loner, but feeling very lonely.
Loneliness can be rough on a man's health. It carries the same physical risks as smoking up to 15 cigarettes or having 6 alcoholic drinks every day. Think about that and this.
Roughly 1 in 7 men say they have no close friendships.
Since we moved to Maine, making really close friends has been strangely hard.
In this crisis of connection, one of the Everyman messages: whatever you're feeling, share it.
Hey, I'm having a hard time in my marriage. And that's not something guys usually talk about. So you ask everybody, you're like, who else? And all the hands go up. It's like, oh, I'm not alone.
Their spouses or partners often encourage them to come here.
And there's something about letting our guard down and having fun with other guys that's hard to replace.
It's a lot of work.
Can be.
But it can be fun at the same time.
Absolutely.
Connection. It's like building a fire. Keeping it alive takes work, but the warmth is well worth it.
Is that going to work?
Oh, yeah. For Eye on America, Mark Strassmann in Sheffield, Massachusetts.
All right.
What a piece.
Senior loneliness correspondent, Mark Strassmann,
Not
CBS
funny.
News. Get off a good one.
Yeah, I liked his a poverty of the spirit line.
Strassmann gets off a good one. Loneliness is a poverty of the spirit.
Sounds mean.
That was apropos of almost nothing.
mean.
It was that's just him getting off a philosophical bon mot. It was like, it's like, you know what your problem is, boys? You have an impoverished spirit, and if you could just, get the spirit numbers up, you'd be just fine.
Also, what's the scam with this outing? Like, these people are from different parts of the country, right? So they have a weekend getaway. They burn some wood. They talk for a little bit, and then they go back to their lonely ways. Shouldn't they just be cultivating friendships in the towns that they live in?
But they can't because
They can't even get any of these dudes' numbers because they don't have their fucking phones.
they don't know.
But like, I imagine there are people who are like socially inept and lonely. Like they don't have the tools to strike a conversation. But these people are on fucking television. They're talking to Strassmann. They're able to carry a conversation. They can do that in some volunteer, whatever.
No drinking, no drugs, no technology, but I didn't catch any prohibition on mutual masturbation. So
Yeah, no, they can do
I
any
think I
sex.
know what's going on around the campfire there.
It's fine. The wives sent them away. They said, "You seem lonely. Here's a thing. Go here."
I wouldn't have guessed Mark Strassmann was a Massachusetts kind of guy.
Massachusetts.
He said Massachusetts.
And that fucking woman said surge in general.
What the surge in general.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Somebody put that in the prompter wrong, I bet. Somebody's fucking with Nora on the way out.
Yes.
Instead of saying Surgeon General, they wrote phonetically the Surgeon General.
A pro would have caught that.
And they're a crisis of connection. I don't know. If you say so, he got off a good one. I think he could have been much crueler in his pun game, and things could have been much more entertaining. But you are the judge, jury, and executioner on the Mark Strassmann game, so I let Abe make the decisions. It is now time to roll the dice and determine the degradation of the culture based on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. We will choose a song at random from this week's Billboard Hot 100 and then compare it with a song in the exact same spot from a randomly selected year from our Utes. This week, we are going to position number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and year number 25 in our game.
Oh, my.
So late in the game, but high on the chart. All right. The Billboard Hot 100 chart this week, once again, has Mariah Carey at the very top, along with a number of other Christmas classics filling out the top 10, including Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, Jingle Bell Rock, Last Christmas, A Holly Jolly Christmas, all of those. Number 13 this week is a song, unfortunately, that we have had before. It is the Billie Eilish hit, Birds of a Feather. Pretty sure we've had this Billie Eilish song, haven't we? that song before. Because I certainly don't remember it.
Yeah, I think that's new to
all.
us.
I've heard the song before, just not in this game.
That sample, that guitar sample underneath it sounds very familiar to me. I'm not sure what it is. I'm sure I can look it up and figure that out. Maybe I will, but not right now. Largely inoffensive modern pop song, I would say.
Yeah.
Going to 2007, I believe, in our game.
Yep.
As we head to the week of December 23rd through the 29th of 2007, the top of the charts this week had Alicia Keys with a song called No One. Ooh. Flo Rida featuring T-Pain at number 2 with Low. A classic of the time. We got Fergie and Jordan Sparks and Kanye in the top 10. Soulja Boy at number 11. And another Alicia Keys song at number 13. It's Like You'll Never See Me Again. I have no recollection of this song whatsoever.
Maybe we'll recognize it when we hear it.
That song sucks.
Yeah, it was boring and sad.
The criticism
How's that a top 20 song? I don't fucking believe it. They were manipulating the charts or something in 2007.
The criticism of the Billie Eilish song was that it's forgettable, and this was literally I don't remember this song at all. Like, I thought maybe after 30 seconds, oh yeah, I remember this, but I don't remember this.
13's not a good spot this week.
Nope, not great.
You should listen to Soulja Boy.
I don't want to listen to Soulja Boy. We've done that on the show before. We can't be repeating ourselves. I did, however, notice that this song by Linkin Park is on the Billboard Hot 100 in the 80s. I'm a notorious Linkin Park hater, it must be said. Here's a little bit of Bleed It Out.
So far, fine.
Yeah, here we go for the 100th time. Hand grenade pins in every line. Throw them up and let something shine. Going out of my fucking mind. Filthy mouth, no excuse. Find a new place to hang this noose. String me up from atop these roofs. Got it tight so I won't get loose. Truth is you can stop and stare. Let myself out and no one cares. Dug the trench out, lay down there with a shovel up out of reach somewhere. Yeah, someone pour it in. Make it a dirt dance floor again. Saying prayers and stop it out when they bring that chorus in. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away.
Well, they ruined it there. This was almost a Pitbull song. Start it over. Start it over. Think Pitbull.
Lori's demanding that I start it over and that we think Pitbull.
Yeah, here we go for the 100th time. Hand grenade pins in every line. Throw them up and let some.
I'm going to pause here just to say that we watched the lyric video the first time, and then I clicked on the actual music video the second time, and I must say, watching them perform it does not help.
No.
Let's let it play for a little bit longer.
Saying prayers and stop it out when they bring that chorus in. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. Just to throw it away, just to throw it away. I bleed it out. Go, stop the show, choppy words and a sloppy blow. Shotgun opera locking low, cock it back and then...
This is 90 degrees from a great Pitbull song. It's just facing slightly the wrong way.
All right, that's enough Linkin Park. I play Linkin Park. Abe, what is your take on Linkin Park?
Linkin Park was discussed during the Creed outing, and the thought was that if they were still making the rounds with their full band intact, we would definitely have gone to a show, but that did not happen. So. Think that I like a couple of their songs, but I'm not a Linkin.
Well,
Park
the one of them is dead, and
yeah,
then they put a chick in charge of doing his role.
What was the song I like by them?
So there's one good Linkin Park song, which is my long-standing take that you should be
Toxic.
No, I think it's "Faint" is the name of the song
Yes.
you're thinking of, and I'm going to play it in just a moment here.
It sounds like Britney Spears. Who's their producer? What's going on?
Holy shit! Look at the view counts.
Oh yeah, very popular band.
People really like Linkin Park.
You should be. They sold an ungodly number of records. That first record sold, I think, like 14 million copies or something. Like
Do we have a copy?
No. If by we you mean you are trying to impute the ownership of said album to me, I never
don't
owned
have a copy.
any Linkin
Bob,
Park.
is it
So
possible that you have a shame stash of like Three Doors Down and Linkin Park and others?
No.
He has Korn. He has Eminem. He has Tommy Valentine.
There was one good Korn record, or at least there are like two good songs on that one Korn record that I have. And by good, I mean tolerable.
Falling away from me, falling away from me.
It was probably like $8 at Walmart. All right, give me a break.
You'd be a fool not to buy it.
Anyway, it is my position that even bad bands make like one good song, and like if they're at all remotely good, you should acknowledge that sometimes a bad band makes one good song. This is obviously not the case.
And then you should buy the album.
Not the case for Train, sadly, or Creed, for example. But this one Linkin Park song, "Faint," is a fun one.
Loneliness, a little bit of disregard, handful of complaints, but I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. I'm what I want you to want, what I want you to feel, but it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, but I'll be here 'cause you're all that I got. I can't face the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't change. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. A little bit insecure, a little unconfident.
Right. And then in the fashion of all Linkin Park songs, they just do that same minute twice more, and then that's the end of the song. That's as far as I am willing to go, however, in my Linkin Park apologetics, which I think is as far as anyone should ever go. Rob Harvilla, who runs a podcast called 60 Songs That Explain the 90s, and has since, in season 4 of the show, it's very confusing, he had 60 Songs That Explain the 90s, and then they did 30 more episodes. So it was 60 Songs That Explain the 90s 61 through 90. And then he did 30 more episodes after that. So he did 120 songs of 60 songs that explain the 90s. And now, a month or two ago, he started 60 songs that explain the 90s, the 2000s. So he's doing songs from the 2000s. It's a great title. There's no denying it's a good title for a thing.
The brand is so strong that he's willing to cause confusion in the process of keeping it.
He's not. It's a good title.
No one who matters is confused, I think, is what comes down to it. However, the thing that, and I've enjoyed the podcast, I've listened to the vast majority of the episodes. The thing that I've been forced to keep it at slight arm's distance, at a slight length from myself, is his tendency, Harvilla, to embrace things that he doesn't actually like, I think because it is socially convenient for him to embrace them. And to do so now, after having been a music critic for his entire adult life and having been a critic of music in a non-professional capacity for the 10 or 15 years before that, he didn't have a problem hating stuff. That hate and dislike and distaste is a valid way of approaching even criticism of art, right? That one's aesthetic reaction to something is valid, right? And if you can give voice to it in an interesting way and with a sort of defensible argument, then it's worth engaging with, even as you acknowledge that this can be understood largely as a matter of taste, right? That you can do both. In other words, is my contention here. That you can argue from taste in an intelligent way that still gets at the heart of the art in question. Whereas in the modern understanding of pop music, the so-called poptimist music, the poptimist approach to both pop music and pop culture at large, essentially anybody who is yucking your yum is doing a bad, right? And to be sort of accepted in the current critical moment is to embrace all things that are popular, because if it is popular, it means that people like it, and if people like it, it must be good, or else people wouldn't like it, right? Like fundamentally that is the way to understand what poptimism says. And so a person like Rob Harvilla, who when the first Linkin Park record came out, wrote an utterly dismissive review of it in fucking 350 words or something. Now, some generation later, doing this podcast, is reevaluating the entire Linkin Park canon for what, and suggesting that his reaction to it 20, 25 years ago or whatever was in fact wrong and informed by his personal badness, and that if not for his personal badness, he would have been able to see that in fact Linkin Park was great. And his episode on Linkin Park in particular, and I've been sort of vicariously humiliated for Rob Harvilla a few times throughout the run of this podcast, when he has to pretend seemingly to like things that he doesn't, when he has to talk as authoritatively and emotionally and sincerely about things that he obviously doesn't love, after just last week talking about something that it comes across viscerally that he obviously loves, right? Like, and like, if you think we can't fucking tell, you're fucking fooling yourself, right? Like, we can fucking tell. And but the one that really drove home the humiliation for me on Rob's behalf is this Linkin Park episode. And I'll make sure there's a link to it in the show note if you're a real sicko like I am. But I've listened to it twice now. And it's just fucking, it's brutal. I'm
curious, who is this for? What do you think he's taking this approach? Like, his like listeners are like very big Linkin.
It's his penance largely. This, like, who it's for is for him to be an ongoing member of the correct social clique.
Right, but I don't have any examples to bring up, but I remember during the Siskel and Ebert days, there would be like a movie where both of them or one of them panned, and it turned out to be like a classic, like a movie, like an undeniably good movie that they gave like, a thumbs down to, and then they, like months later, they would go back to it and say, that actually was not a bad movie. Like they revised their position. But
I think there's nothing wrong with saying, look, I saw this, I had you can walk into a movie. It's a big difference between TV and movies.
Right.
If you watch a TV show for 4 years, you're going to know whether or not you fucking liked it and whether or not it meant anything to you. If you watch a movie on a random fucking Tuesday, you might just be having a bad day and you didn't relate to it in the way that you might relate to it differently on a day that you were in a better mood, right?
No, that's true. But so you can have a movie that you digest and then you think back on it and you like it, and it turns out to be like a undeniably good or a classic movie that withstood the test of time. Like Linkin Park, it's not like they've gotten better over time, right? It's the same act. The music is the same, obviously, but like it's not like there's like a newfound appreciation for them that you now have to revisit your previous stance on. So it's weird that he would be thinking this.
And in fact, one of the points that he makes over and over again is that Linkin Park says the same thing in every fucking song, and he treats that as though it's like some sort of profound thesis statement, like their commitment to this one idea, which is basically to me, it's the most stepdad doesn't love me music I've ever heard. Like it's my parents got divorced and mom remarried, and stepdad and mommy don't listen to me, and I both want them to leave me alone and also pay me all of the attention that I deserve at the same time. That is the genre that Linkin Park occupies. And that's every fucking song. Every song is addressed to a you and spoken from the same I, right? This is like, it's the most childish and narrowly focused point of view that one can possibly imagine. And Rob Harvilla spends an hour talking about how that is its primary asset, about how good and important it is that Chester and fucking Mike, whatever his name is, were trying to get this message across. And it's just whiny teenager shit, which is fine. Like, I get it. It's like, I'm a fucking Smashing Pumpkins fan, for Christ's sake. You think I don't appreciate the occasional whiny teenager shit? Of course I do. But to then go back and say, actually, this was like the most important music of its time, and it's going to stand the test of time throughout all of history, is fucking humiliating. What the fuck are you doing, Rob?
The first time I ever heard that song just now, Faint,
yeah,
I was in the car. The radio started playing a song. And I was like, oh, what's this?
That's because it starts.
And then
it starts like this.
Yeah.
Wait, just the first 10 seconds before anybody talks.
Exactly. And then it gets even better. Like it turns, it's like going to be a Prodigy song or something. So I'm like jamming out by myself in the car, windows down, lovely like late spring, maybe early summer day, and then this guy starts doing this.
A little bit of loneliness, a little bit of disregard, handful of complaints, but I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. I am what I want you to want, what I want you to feel, but it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So
and like all the wind came out of my sails. I was like, oh fuck, I liked a Linkin Park song. And I called my friend Andrew, who liked Linkin Park, and I said, Andrew, I liked a Linkin Park song. And he said, it's okay. It's radio music. It's made for you to like it. Don't feel bad. And I said, I feel bad.
Did we ever vote? Do we like Alicia Keys or Billie Eilish better? Anybody going to vote?
We liked Billie Eilish better. Also, this is a Britney Spears song. This is Toxic.
It is pretty close to Toxic. When did Toxic came out? What, like 2003 or something?
Yeah, when was this? Around the same time.
I think around the same time.
Probably the same producer. Pitbull, Britney Spears, Linkin Park.
Abe, are you voting on the...
Yeah, I like I said, I'm not that big of a fan of either song, but Billie Eilish, I'll go with her.
All right, so my vote is utterly inconsequential and does not matter. So I won't vote at all.
You going to vote present?
I vote present. I think I would, out of those two songs, I would lean to the Billie Eilish if I'm being completely honest with myself. So, and I don't want to have a podcast if I can't be completely honest with myself and my audience.
So you got to write that dude an email, like your heart's not in it regarding Linkin Park. Don't embarrass yourself further.
What's worst about it is that I'm afraid that his heart really is in it. Like his heart has been meaningfully changed.
Even though you can tell when he's really into something, you can tell the difference. Like, oh, you're really
I mean, I think that yes.
Well,
and I won't write him an email because I'm sure he gets 1,000 emails every week. And I keep listening. Like, I enjoy the show. I think that if you've listened to it before,
it's very great.
It's very good, especially the first chunk of it is reliably good because he just writes a long essay and then reads his long essay. And obviously, as evidenced by this segment, I get a great big kick out of playing short chunks of songs and talking about them. And that's most of what he does on that podcast. And then in the back half of the episode, he has an interview with some sort of music journalist.
You can skip that part.
Or music luminary, and you can largely skip those because they're not great usually. But anyway, yeah, that's...
the Garth Brooks episode, I think, is my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one. And there's a Meatloaf episode and a Celine Dion episode.
And the Pantera one.
Is that some of the ones that he obviously doesn't necessarily love but wants to talk about and has a great deal of passion for talking about are also worth checking out. It's the ones where he's like clearly sort of faking his appreciation for the thing, where he's an interloper in the scene in an obvious way. That's weird. And then this Linkin Park one was just, if I could have cringed myself off the treadmill without injuring myself, I would have. I resisted the urge to physically cringe as much as I was desperately wanting to while listening to it. Hopefully you too have resisted those cringing urges while listening to us. You've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast with Bob and Abe. Lori's here too, despite her best efforts to convince us otherwise. You can find us on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us. Also check out Mark Gillig, who composed our opening and closing themes. More from him is available at tetramermusic.com, TETRAMER music.com. Abe, it's the end of the year. There should be plenty of Oscar bait in the movie theaters, allegedly. There's an Adrian Brody 3-hour plus epic that's making its way to theaters, I think, in the last couple weeks of the year. Includes a legit intermission with a countdown and everything. What Oscar-worthy fare did you go see this week?
I did not see any Oscar-worthy movie. That Adrian Brody movie has not made it to Atlanta yet, at least not at any of my theaters. So I have not watched that. I went to see Homestead, which, as I'm looking at my history on my AMC app, this is the third movie from Angel Studios, that like Christian-y, faith-based outfit.
Very curious.
So
tell me everything about it.
So this is, okay, so you guys know those doomsday preppers?
Yep.
Yes, that's what I was hoping it was about.
This is like a wet dream for preppers. So the story is that like a nuclear bomb goes off.
Is it like post-apocalyptic?
Yeah. So
listen,
a nuclear bomb, possibly from some terrorist. Like it opens like this. A nuclear bomb strikes off the coast of California, Los Angeles, what have you. And the first 30 minutes, great movie, because basically everybody's like freaking out what's going on. No one has any plans except the prepper people. Like, and their plan is to fuck off to somewhere to Colorado. They have like this, might as well be like a Jeff Bezos owned compound. Like it is this amazing building. It could house like probably like hundreds of people, but there are like a few families that are connected to the guy who owns that place. And so they all flee California to come there. And they have all the food that they need, all the things that they want. But because this is a Christian-y kind of thing, the moral dilemma is there are people outside who did not prepare, and they want in, right? And so they prepare for some security to prevent people from coming in. And the wife is like, she has some misgivings, like, what are we going to do? You're going to shoot these people dead? Like, we should be, like, opening our arms. You know, Jesus said, whatever Jesus said. And so you should let them in. So for, like, an hour or so, there's this back and forth. The movie gets bogged down by that. But the first 30 minutes of everybody just freaking out, great. I would recommend that, just 30 minutes. But the movie...
The overwhelming percentage of preppers who are also... like fundamentalist Christians, right? Certainly those two things go hand in hand. How many of them are doing all of this prepping in order so that they may share their bounty with the others, with the other people who have survived?
I mean, this is the ultimate "I told you so," right? Because I'm sure they feel like people look, like are like, "Oh, you're ridiculous. Something's going to go wrong," and they're just slowly, saving.
No, Abe. This is the second most ultimate. This is the penultimate "I told you so." The ultimate "I told you so" is when you ascend to the pearly gates.
My mistake.
And you can look down with great smug disdain.
The correct religion was Mormon.
There is this government stooge character that has a lot of airtime. I think, I don't understand it. They just kept on showing this. He was like some, from the zoning board or something, but he's there, you need to share this stuff. Come on,
Good
guy.
thing he made it.
They're being very, obnoxious, and they make some comments about, FEMA's not going to help you. You're on your own, that sort of thing.
Like the lawyer in Jurassic Park, does he get a particularly grisly death before too much longer?
No. I think one person dies, and it was
along with the totality of Los Angeles.
Yes. That's right. But here's where the movie falls apart. It turns out this 2-hour movie is a ruse. It's a teaser for a television show that they want you to contribute to or get off the ground, because at the end of the movie, it does the end. So what happens is the husband, who's we only have enough food for the people that are here, sucks for them on the outside, but we have to stay the course. And the wife is like, no, let's help people, Jesus, blah, 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 blah. So the guy gets shot by the government stooge, right? So the husband gets shot. He lives, don't worry. But he's incapacitated for a few days, and now the wife is making decisions, and she says, open it up, let them all in.
Oh, these women!
And no one's grabbing stuff. They all come in in a very Christian-y, ooh, we saved the day. And I thought the movie was going to end there. And then an actor from the show, the movie, comes on. It's I hope you liked it. Episode 2 is gonna pick right off, and I'm I have zero interest in what happens next. I am out.
Abe, you were an unwitting Kickstarter contributor. To season 2 of this movie that you went and watched.
And if you were so willing, you can get out your phone and get the QR code that's on the screen. And if you pay it forward, they've done this with Sound of Freedom and the other things. If you pay it forward, you'll get an advanced copy of the next episode. And I did not do that.
Pay it forward in what fashion?
You basically pay for somebody else's ticket. So
this is. So
apparently, I guess there's a website there. Maybe if you want to see this for free, you can just say.
Ironically, this is the devil. We should not be encouraging movie studios to do this moving forward, where they are. Not only are you expected to shell out fucking $22 to go see the movie, and then the $50 for snacks and sodas, and then at the end they flash a QR code up there. Saying, hey, how about another $22 for your buddy to go?
Right.
This is terrible.
They're trying to help others, I guess. I don't know. But on the whole, not a good movie. But I said the first 30 minutes. It reminds me of The Walking Dead. I remember watching the first season or the first episode.
The Walking Dead. It sounds like
it just kind of gets bogged down to different factions being formed. Oh, there's the youngest daughter of the family. She can, I guess, see the future. So when the movie started in the morning, when everybody's getting very hectic, everybody's getting breakfast, parents are going to work, and the kids are going to school, kind of thing, and she's drawing something. And when she's done drawing, it's the cloud of the nuclear whatever. And then, so she foresaw this. And then at the end, she foresees other things, which is basically the future episodes. So they basically spoil the next 3 episodes, where all of the kumbaya stuff falls apart. The people with the gun say, like, why are we, like, basically the rich guy, he hired some Navy SEALs types. And the Navy SEALs types are like, wait a minute, what good is the money? We have the guns, like, we can just take over this whole thing. So, like, it's going to be that sort of conflict. I'm like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
So,
all right. That's...
So I thought, I do want to say, speaking of the disaster movie or disaster-themed shows, on Netflix, there's this La Palma Netflix show. It's like a 4-episode show about like some island volcanic activity resulting in a tsunami. It's like it follows a Norwegian family.
Sounds great. It
is like comically like ridiculous. Like
that's my favorite genre.
This is a recommend because there is this daughter that she puts herself in these positions that's hard to get out of, and somehow she finds a way. I don't want to spoil it beyond that, but like just a lot of just ridiculous, no way this could possibly happen, things happen. But if you're into disaster movies or disaster shows, this will be it.
I am. What's it called?
La Palma,
yeah. On Netflix.
La Palma.
Yeah.
How many hours do we have to sit through for this miniseries?
It's 4 episodes.
That's not so bad.
Not so bad. And I did not know people did this, but don't do the English dubbing. I don't know why people do that, but like
read the fucking subtitles, you savages.
It's not gonna kill you, but they're like, it just looks weird. I'm like, yeah, because it's weird. Just fucking let the original actors use their voice.
It looks way weirder when they dub over the fucking like. Right?
No,
like,
no, that's
weird.
what they're complaining about the thing that they use. They're basically.
Oh, they're complaining about the dubbing.
Yeah, I said, yeah, just don't choose that. I don't understand it.
Learn to read, stupid fucks. All right, what did we watch, Lori?
Home Alone and football.
Watched Home Alone and a bunch of football. It is Christmas time. What do we have left on the docket in terms of our Christmas movies?
We need to watch Miracle on 34th Street, the old one. We need to watch Scrooged, and we need to watch Love Actually and South Park.
Do you guys have an order to do this thing? Are you guys building up to some, or just...
So, traditionally, we have watched the South Park Critter Christmas at the very least after the kids go to bed on Christmas Eve. We usually watch like at least 3 or 4 of the South Park Christmas episodes because for years they seem to do one every year, every other year. So there's like, I don't know, what is it, like 8 of them on that DVD?
I don't know.
But there's 4 or 5 of them are just fucking absolute classics, including especially the Critter Christmas one, which is my...
Critter Christmas.
It's Critter Christmas, dude. It sucks ass.
It's Critter Christmas, dude. It sucks ass.
One of my top 5 overall South Park episodes, if not actually having pride of place. I don't know. Perfect 22 minutes of television. Other than that, I don't think that we have anything set in stone in terms of for sure on a certain date every year. No.
Late. I don't know. I don't care.
Closer to Christmas, I would like to see the George C. Scott Christmas Carol, which is...
Close. You don't get closer to Christmas than we are.
I know. I haven't done great with my Christmas Carol rewatches this year.
I kept suggesting it, and you didn't listen.
I watched a couple of them, of the bad ones on Prime. There's just so many of them.
There are so many.
I'm so happy to always watch a Christmas Carol one way or another. If I had another friend, speaking of, call up Strassmann and find out what my problem is, not having other friends. Maybe I could have somebody who would watch all of the Christmas carols with me and discuss them.
You have me. We talk about them.
I continue to feel weird asking Abe to watch and do other stuff.
Do you actually not see or hear me this time?
Yeah, we could do a Christmas Carol podcast. I just don't,
I'm a woman, though, so...
You're a chick.
Yeah, strike against.
Pete. I mean, it's not. I don't have a problem with it. It's the audience out there.
That's what it is.
I've heard. Wait, what did people like about this show?
You mostly, yes. Yeah. What was the one other thing I wanted to mention?
No, we have to do shit.
No, I know.
No, I know. I just don't care what you think.
I was reading.
Because you're a woman.
In the paper, I skipped it when it came across my. Notifications in the New York Times app, but I saw it on the front page of like the style section or something. This article headline: Kylie Kelsey doesn't want to talk about besting Joe Rogan, but in her first interview since her podcast reached #1, she does share ideas about why the show has become a breakout hit. All right. First few paragraphs.
No, we don't have time for this. You're going to have to save it. We have shit to do. You said you didn't want to go long.
Lori, killing me.
You need to
Fine.
be done.
We'll talk about Kylie Kelsey's podcast next time. Go and read the article and see if you can guess what made me fucking hot about it. Not hot as in I'm into Kylie Kelsey, but like mad. I'll make sure there's a link to it in the show notes. Abe, I dare you to have something else for us tonight. Did you hear Lori just now? She's fucking putting the foot down, man. She's got the fucking frying pan. She's giving me the frying pan treatment. I
can't
bag.
lift our frying pan because I worked so much my wrist doesn't hold things anymore.
Abe, you got anything else for us tonight?
No.
He said cowering in fear.
I don't have anything else.
Fucking smart, man. I guess that's all we've got for you tonight, then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later. You know, by the time...
Merry fucking Christmas, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas Eve, it's the one night of the year when we all act a little nicer, we smile a little easier, we share a little more. For a couple of hours out of the whole year, we are the people that we always hoped we would be. It's a miracle. It's really a sort of a miracle because it happens every Christmas Eve. And if you waste that miracle, you're gonna burn for it. I know what I'm talking about. You have to do something. You have to take a chance. You do have to get involved. There are people that are having trouble making their miracle happen. There are people that don't have enough to eat. There are people that are cold. You can go out and say hello to these people. You can take an old blanket out of the closet and say, here. You can make them a sandwich and say, oh, by the way, here. I get it now. And if you give, then it can happen. Then the miracle can happen to you. It's not just the poor and the hungry. It's everybody who's got to have this miracle. And it can happen tonight for all of you. If you believe in this spirit thing, the miracle will happen, and then you'll want it to happen again tomorrow. You won't be one of these bastards who says Christmas is once a year and it's a fraud. It's not. It can happen every day. You just got to want that feeling. And if you like it and you want it, you'll get greedy for it. You'll want it every day of your life, and it can happen to you. I believe in it now. I believe it's going to happen to me now. I'm ready for it. It's great. It's a good feeling. It's really better than I felt in a long time. I'm ready. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
You guys see Calvin?
Did I forget something, big man?
God bless everyone.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear. Every animal, big or small. Christmas means so much to us all. It's once a year, it's Christmas time. And it happens once a year. It's once a year at Christmas time. When we hear about how Christmas only comes once a year.
With special time and special days for the greater Christmas. Hail State!
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.